The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.
The role of a woman in the society is to submit. Birth control are the pills of the devil. Education is so fundamental to the development of a people. Hang murderers. Simple as that. What am I voting for? Voting will change nothing.
Tout le monde haïtien, como ye. God save the Queen.
Welcome to Freedom March. My name is Rodney Monker. I'm a Justice of the Peace here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And of course, the world must know by now I'm a member of the local Catholic Christian community. Today, my special guest will be noted attorney Wayne Monroe, QC. And of course, Mr. Monroe is going to be here to discuss the Frankie Alfred Campbell saga. Because, as you are aware, we have evidence that notwithstanding what the government might say, and notwithstanding that the Honorable Attorney General has been pussyfooting on Friday around the Registrar General's office, I know, Carl, you're on the wrong track. But there are many things on my mind. And so I thank God that in the midst of this controversy and the level of threats that is emanating from Frankie supporters, I thank God that God has protected me. At this very hour, the outgoing Commissioner of Police, Ellison Greenslade, is at police headquarters giving his final farewell address. Well, that tells you what kind of country we are running. The FNM has finally terminated him with negotiation. So there's some things happening here in the Bahamas. And of course, one of the most pressing socio-political issue on my mind is the fact that the FNM has argued that they support freedom of information, but they talk with forked tongue as they advocate freedom of information. They are terrorizing those persons who by law is required to give me public documents. But I want Minnis and Carl Bettel to know that they should stop it, because that's not nice and that's not kind. And after all, whatever they think about me, I'm a citizen. That's one. I'm also a financial member of the Free National Movement. And as such member, notwithstanding that I've hanged out with the PLP over the last couple of days at their glorious convention, I'm an FNM. But Dr. Minnis got me angry, and all this corruption that I can see just is on my mind. So folks, I want you to relax, take good care, because there are so many things to tell you, man. Getting complaint from them people who work at Stephen Dillard Primary School. And notwithstanding that Deacon Jeff Lloyd proclaimed that he's a Christian man, guess what? They ain't paying the workers them, and the workers them are mad. And guess who they're complaining to? Me. I'm gonna have to curse out Jeff and Mal Jack. This is Freedom March. Stay tuned. I'll be right back in a few minutes.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker. We'll be right back after this. This is Freedom March with Rodney Monker.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. My name is Rodney Monker. My special guest is noted attorney Wayne Monroe QC. Mr. Monroe, welcome to Freedom March.
Always good to be here, Brother Monker.
Before I engage you, I need to do one or two things. First of all, I need to nationally give thanks to Jehovah God for sparing my life, because I've never seen nothing like this, where I am a former senator and a justice of the peace here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and men and women with impunity can threaten my life. So I must give God thanks, and I shall now look at celebrating the Eucharist. Bless the man who follow not the counsel of the wicked, nor walks in the way of sinners, nor sits in the company of the insolent, but delights in the law of the Lord, and meditate on his law day and night. He is like a tree planted near running water, that yields its fruit in due season, and whose leaves never fade. Whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked, not so. They are like chaff which the wind drives away. For the Lord watches over the way of the just, but the way of the wicked vanishes. Thank you, Lord, for that holy scripture. Well, folks, Wayne Monroe will join me shortly. But as is customary, I have to say some things before my special guest comes on, and I shall do that. I'm very concerned that the Negro population who are working for the Bahamas government are continuously being victimized and fired. And it is as if there are no trade unionists. It is as if the political leadership are intimidated by this mean, wicked, and spiteful F&M government. And it is my hope and prayer that the people will rise up and take advantage of the various laws that exist in the country and just take the F&M to court. In addition to that, they will picket and protest. Here we have Stephen Dillett School, where Negro workers are complaining that notwithstanding they sweat and labored to get Stephen Dillett ready for the opening of the school year, Jeff Lloyd has not made it possible for them to be paid. Between Jeff Lloyd and Mal Jack, they need to do better than this, because it is very unkind. It's not nice to wake people, and after the people them wake, nobody won't pay them. And then all of a sudden everybody ducking. Jeff Lloyd, he's ducking, and Mal Jack say, where you put me? I appeal to Jeff Lloyd, minister, you profess Christianity. See that these workers are paid. Mine are getting tired, you know. And I'm tired of them complaining to me. It is as if you have to repeat the same thing every day and every week. Now a whole Negro man is angry and he turns to me. It's almost as if he wants to blame me. He say to me, you's F&M. I say, yeah, I is F&M, but I don't check for Jeff them. You're going to have to go find the Prime Minister. Because historically, in the Bahamas, when you are displeased with a member of parliament or a minister in the government, you can't get no satisfaction unless you go and find the Prime Minister and complain. Don't forget, Dr. Minister ain't got no portfolio, you know. His job, he says, will be to manage the Negro ministers. So go and see the Prime Minister and tell me what he says. And depending on what he says, I shall curse out Deacon Jeff Lloyd. But the man is angry. He say he can't buy the little things for his son. And his son keep asking him, Daddy, when you can pay me? And then the worst part about it, he took his son to work with him. Now he can't pay the boy. And he's upset. Same old story. It is like the Negro woman who lives here in Sunshine Park, where the government them got 2 men to repair her roof. By grab, the woman wake me up to tell me how the roof ain't fixed right. And all she sent message to the 2 Negro men to come back. They promised they would return and straighten things up. They wouldn't. So I'm going to say to them, my 2 Negro brothers, you know the woman house in Sunshine Park? You know, either go and fix the woman house, or I can call you a name. And then you can get mad with me and say I'm not a kind man. All right? But I'm a kind man. Do not take advantage of the woman them. Fix the roof. All right? Please go and do it. Because if you don't mind, I can call your name. All right? And then you all can get mad with me and say all I doing is giving you all bad name. But my God, a whole Negro woman, and you all don't get paid. Don't do that. Don't take advantage. Don't mind the F&M in charge. Do not take advantage of the woman them. Now, there is a secret of Ambassador Sidney Colley. By Minister Wicked? Boy, oh boy, Sidney, I am minded to tell the country a secret about you. It's amazing how the F&M can cover up, and they cover up something, but you. But I'm going to give you a break. But if I get mad, I might miss and say it. And I'm not going to say it because I got one sister, and she keep telling me I must leave you alone. And so I have to play family sometime. So I'm going to play family with her today. And don't call you a name. But listen, I know the secret. It's amazing what the F&M did. So I better stop it, man, because under our manifesto, see, I have authority to do it. On page 15 of the manifesto, our party leader, Dr. Minnis, is here meeting with the American Charge d'Affaires, Lisa Johnson. And by that, I interpreted that Lisa is one of us. And as an F&M, I could tell Lisa's secret. All right? But Minnis, I got the secret on Jeff. All right? But I won't get mad. I'm mad today. And my sister want me to leave Jeff alone. I don't know why she don't keep with my business. But I can do what she say today. So I thought I'll tell that because I got it. All right? Now I told you how on Friday the Attorney General, Carl Bettel, who claims that he believes in what? Freedom of information. All right? You hear what the Negroes say? They believe in freedom of information. Now that I am accessing the information in accordance with the law, they are sending subtle messages to people working in the Registrar General's office to frustrate me. But I want to warn the workers, anyone who frustrate me, I'm going to have Wayne Monroe sue them personally. Because every document in the Registrar General's office a public record. And I need to get them 2 marriage certificate of Frankie Daddy. I just need to get them. And a couple of other documents. These are public records. All right? Because I'm doing a forensic examination to see if I could further build this case. Because notwithstanding what Nikki Kelly has in the punch today, it appears that Nikki Kelly doesn't seem to understand what the argument is. She's in the punch today. Where the punch is?
Right there.
You got a punch there?
Yeah.
Okay. She in this punch. You see this the punch here. Okay? The punch even wouldn't put me in the punch. But here's the punch, and I'm giving them all this free publicity. And Nikki Kelly, I've always regarded her as a saved white woman. I always. And I always thought that Nikki Kelly will cut things straight. But she usually cut things straight. I like her. But today, this article that she has written in defense of Frankie is wrong. Nikki, we agree with you. If Frankie was born in the Bahamas prior to independence, he's a citizen. All we're saying is Frankie wasn't born here. And we're saying that Frankie has not been able to produce any evidence. And your argument that because he was on the police force for 29 years, somehow the police must have been satisfied. Listen, these police, these Negroes, they don't read and they don't analyze. And when they say big words, many of them don't go and get Oxford Dictionary. Take it from me, they relied on the affidavit because of two reasons. Frankie got color. Frankie got curly hair. And they see Campbell. So they assume. But I could prove that Frankie Daddy wasn't born in the Bahamas. That's the first thing. Edwin wasn't born in the Bahamas. And Frankie at no material time was in the custody of Edwin. All right? And even if he was in the custody of Edwin, Frankie Daddy wasn't born in the Bahamas. And Frankie Grandpa, Johnson Campbell, he was not born in the Bahamas. And we have documents that people have sent us showing what Frankie did in 2008 when he attended a special funeral services in Miami. See, we got him. All right? So that is what the situation is. And I want Nikki to reconsider her arguments. If Frankie was born in the Bahamas, he's a citizen. But Frankie was not born in the Bahamas. And notwithstanding the incompetency of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the incompetency of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all right? If Frankie objectively was to reapply for a Bahamian passport, the document that he now produces will not be accepted. That's a fact. So, Nikki, you got it wrong. The 1969 Constitution, I ain't sure. But anyway, I'll put that question to Wayne Monroe when the time comes around. And the next thing that disturbs me in the Tribune today is the fact that the Deputy Prime Minister, Kevin Peter Turnquest, who has abandoned his constituency in Grand Bahama, he got a niece, Eva Turnquest. I think that's what her name is. She's the young lady who has those wonderful locks. She is trying to get Mrs. Glenys Hannah Martin to say that the people didn't vote for her because of gender. All right? I want them to stop it. The people didn't vote for Glenys Hannah because Philip Brave Davis was their choice. And in this battle, we need a strong man. And y'all stop this with gender. You can't have a sensible talk before y'all go to the person's sexual organs. Huh? If you're going to talk with her, I think it's disrespectful for this young girl, Eva, to be talking to Miss Hannah Martin. And the next thing she knows, she raised up the woman's dress, raised up a gown tail. You must stop it. Can't we have a debate before you either raising up the woman's gown tail or asking the man to drop his pants? Huh? When God made man and woman, he made them, male and female. So we don't have to debate sexual organs. I think it's disrespectful. These young people, they ain't got no manners. Whatever one talk about sexual organ bout. Because if you say they ain't vote for you because of gender, what gender? Huh? Gender has to do with sexuality. I want you all to stop it. Because I find this argument to be very filthy. And I hate when children start talking sex. And I'll tell you why. The first problem I have is I'm opposed to all people having sex. That's the first thing. I don't care who don't like it. Because sex is for young people. I get what you all say. I'm opposed to all people having sex. All right? I'm opposed to it. So what young people doing? Trying to find out what gender. All people should not have sex. Sex is for young people. All right? And I don't care who don't like it. Because there are one or two old people in my family. I say, yuck.
What's the definition of old, though?
Huh?
How old is old?
All I can say is sex is for young people. And this young girl talking about gender equality. Boy, we in trouble. I mean, it's amazing. Oh, boy. Wayne Monroe, I can't wait to bring you on.
I just hope I ain't old.
Well, I hope you're not old, because sex is for young people. And I hate to see old people having sex. I hate it. All right? What you doing asking this woman these kinds of questions? Oh, boy. The young people, them ain't got no manners. Okay? They have no manners. And I want Peter to talk to his niece. Talk to Eva. And tell Eva, stop talking gender talk. Because once you start getting into gender, what is your gender? What is my gender? That's very sexy. It is very sexy. And I ask the young people to stop it. Which in a rude, no manner self. But gender. What kind of gender? The people didn't vote for her because they didn't thought she was a good candidate. All right? But if y'all want to sexualize everything, boy, y'all better stop it and have respect. Because I think the PLP had 3 good choice. It's like M&M. 3 good choice. And I expect to see lots of political action. There's a bunch of things on my mind, but I can hold it back. Because tomorrow will come when Wayne Monroe is not here. Eva Turnquest, I want you to stop this gender talk, because there's only 2 gender. It's man them and woman them, and woman is supposed to submit to the man. Lord, I thank you for the Bahamian woman who submits to a good man in their life. I'll be right back with Wayne Monroe after the break.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker will be right back after this. The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV Studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. My name is Rodney Monker. My special guest is noted attorney Wayne Monroe QC. My spiritual advisor, Bradley Roll, has informed me that he has to go to attend a very, very important meeting. So there's nothing out of the way. Bradley is attending a very, very important meeting. Well, as I told you, my guest is attorney Wayne Monroe QC. Mr. Monroe, once again, welcome to Freedom March.
Thank you, Brother Monka, and I think I better defend you right away against these people on this chat, eh?
What are they saying?
No. Just to say, just because you are 60 isn't the same thing as you saying you're old.
Well, next month, I should be 60 plus.
And still not old.
And I'm opposed to old people.
No, but you're still not old.
Well,
just say yes.
Well, You don't think I'm old?
No, no, no.
Well, this is powerful that I am not
Old. Good.
Mr. Monroe, we have a major developing controversy. In fact, I am bold enough to say that it constitutes almost a constitutional crisis. I'm layman, so you keep me on the right track. But you know, I like to play learned layman. I'm concerned over the fact that notwithstanding what appears to be plenty evidence that the Minister of Transport and the Member of Parliament for Southern Shores, Frankie Alfred Campbell, is not a citizen of the Bahamas, no one will tell him or the Prime Minister to do the right thing, resign, and then naturalize him. How is my case coming? Because I propose to take him to the nearest court. How things looking? Because all kinds of games are being played. I haven't had my exhibition yet. I'm preparing to have an exhibition. How do you see this whole matter developing involving Frankie Campbell?
Well, strategically, Brother Monka, we will file after you have your exhibition.
This is powerful.
So that nobody could claim that that is seeking to comment on the merits of a matter before the court, although it'd just be putting what the evidence is. This is a matter that would be heard by a judge alone, and so it's not a matter of affecting the mind of jurors. I wouldn't class it as a constitutional crisis, you know.
Okay.
It's as simple as this. It's going to be one of those Matthew moments that you judge people by the standards you judge yourself. Remember the last time I was here, we looked at that. And the issue really is going to be, if the documents that you have unearthed through your industry are acceptable to establish citizenship for Mr. Campbell, then they ought to be acceptable to establish citizenship for everybody else. So in that regard, it's not a constitutional crisis. It's simply a matter of the government and the courts, by adjudicating it, deciding what evidence is sufficient.
Okay.
So it may be that this government would say that if Wayne Monroe comes to them with 50 people from Freetown, or during the election campaign, let's say 500 people from Freetown, and say, look, all of these people were born here. All of them are over, it would be 45. Regardless of how they look, take it from me that all of them are over 45.
Yes.
You need to give them a passport. You need to give them citizenship. A government might decide that it would act on that information without requiring one piece of proof that you were born here. Now that would be very dangerous, and no responsible government would do that. But the first step is we must take it that Mr. Campbell, the Prime Minister whose portfolio is to make sure Mr. Campbell is qualified to be a minister, that both of them are saying to the Bahamian public that if somebody were to bring forward an affidavit like this one here that you have for Frankie,
Yes.
in this day and age, they would act on that and give that person citizenship. And I think the Bahamian public ought to judge them by that they say that this is acceptable to them. And I know you know sufficient people that we will find some people.
Oh, all I got is people.
Who will test them, because as I envisage a challenge, this isn't personal to Frankie, and people need to get that in their minds. This isn't personal to Frankie, because if it's good for him, it's good for everyone.
Yes.
And the one thing we will come away from court knowing is whether an affidavit like this is sufficient. And if it is sufficient, then everyone can produce one like this and ought to be given citizenship. That's really what the purpose, as I understood your instructions, of the case is going to be, to establish what is the standard of proving that you are Bahamian.
Particularly in view of the fact that, one, there is no record in your mother's maternity files of a birth. there is no record in the Registrar General's office of any birth certificate.
You want to hear something crazy? We do, well, not really crazy,
Go ahead.
how it spreads across. We do probate matters. And the Supreme Court has a standard that it sets before it will accept that somebody is my son. And there are certain documents I have to produce in order to prove that that I am somebody's son.
Wow.
And so you have these standards being pulled across our system when you go to child support court. There are standards of proof there. If you were to do a quieting action and you want to show that you're the heir at law, there are standards of proof. And surely the standard of proof of who is your son can't be lower than the standard of proof of who is a citizen. And so you see people like me who make a living from argument before the court will say, if the court establishes that this is sufficient for citizenship, citizenship is very, very important, so it must be sufficient for everything else.
Right.
And the fact that Mr. Campbell and the Prime Minister must not be seeing this, it's not a matter of a constitutional crisis, it's a matter of the standards they are setting to prove who's your parent, where you were born, and entitlement to citizenship. All of them very important things. And they have set for this country by their attitude what they say is sufficient. And when you have your exhibition, people can see exactly what documents they say are sufficient and can start to take note that I don't have to produce any proof that I was born in the Bahamas. I don't have to produce a baptismal certificate. I saw something online where someone said, I don't have to produce a Sawyer studio photo. You know,
Right.
all of us used to be trumped
Yes.
down to Sawyer's studio
Right.
to take the photo, standing up around the table or whatever.
Right, right.
I don't have to bring anything. I don't have to show where I was baptized in the Anglican or Catholic Church. None of that do I have to show. All I have to do is have somebody who has my best interests at heart, my mother, to swear to say where I was born.
Wow. Notwithstanding that she came into the country illegally.
Well, you see, this thing about illegality, as a government, when you're governing, you have to look long term. You can't limit yourself to people. Right now, I have listed for hearing before the Supreme Court a case where I will be arguing in February of next year that if you're born in the Bahamas and your parents aren't married and your father is a Bahamian, you are Bahamian by birth, contrary to what people think. And there's a reason that I will be arguing that. If I succeed in that case, then even if you were born here, even if your mother came here and is not a Bahamian, the question of who your father is becomes pivotal. And then if your mother can just say, this is your father, and the person doesn't have to say anything, because remember now, we rejected DNA testing to establish who is your parent when we voted no on the referendum.
We did that.
Yeah, that was the question.
But I thought that the magistrate retains the power to order DNA.
They can order whatever they like. You don't have to take the test. And if this is sufficient, if it's sufficient for a mother and a friend to say this man who is dead at the time that we swear this affidavit is the father, well, he 2 years dead, wasn't he?
Yes.
So what case would there be? Yeah, they're not asking the dead person for any child support. They're just saying this was his father, and so therefore he is a Bahamian. So you have to be very careful when you set standards of proof of things.
In Taylor Street, is it Taylor Street? I think it's Taylor Street. I'll call it Taylor Street for the time being. There is a Negro male who is the father of at least 2, possibly 3 children with a foreign woman. And that is one of his major frustrations. He ain't married, but he maintained he's Bahamian, and therefore his children should be regarded as Bahamians. I perhaps need to introduce you to him.
Well, how it goes is, and I will no doubt, because we talk almost daily, at the point that the decision comes down on that case, I would let you know. If it's in our favor at first instance, then I would let you know. And anybody else who finds themselves in that position would get the benefit of that decision.
Wow.
And so that is why I'm trying to demonstrate to you and the public why it is so important to take these things that you're saying seriously, because what applies for one person will apply for all. In the case that I'm doing, it is the case of some children whose mother is Jamaican and father is Bahamian. But it'll apply the same if the mother were Haitian and the father was Bahamian, if the mother was Dominican and the father was Haitian. Any person who falls within the class would benefit. So they don't need to now come for a case themselves.
Okay.
Because that case will now be litigated all the way to the Privy Council, no doubt. We'll either win at first instance. If we win, the government may appeal to the Court of Appeal, and then it may go further.
Okay. So I want the Bahamian men to take note of what is being said here today. If you have children born out of wedlock to a foreign woman, doesn't matter her nationality, you need to monitor Freedom March, because once Wayne Monroe is successful with this case, well, we line up the man them, the foreign woman them, and the children them, and there'll be citizenship galore.
Well, if one acts on the basis of this affidavit, you don't have to line up no man. The woman just have to choose somebody who ain't there to object.
Well, that's one baby I saw the other day, and I like the baby. I don't like the mother. Oh, but the baby. Can't she say it's my baby?
Easy. Very easily.
Even though I did not matriculate for the baby.
And you don't have to swear the affidavit, so you don't have to say nothing.
But now,
and the baby can carry your name, Monica.
What about maintenance?
Well, now, if she comes to get maintenance from you, then you can access the provision of the courts to say this is not so. And then you could oppose it. You see?
What about after I dead?
Well,
and she come for maintenance, because I got a lot of mango tree.
But what you will find is, if this, let's say this was a matter of claiming on an estate.
Right.
This affidavit would not create a presumption of paternity.
Really?
No.
Well, how the heck? It gives a presumption of citizenship.
Well, you would have to show some act by the father admitting it, claiming it, and that is what you would put forward.
Okay.
So that's why you get the men to sign the affidavits. Like you say, that's why your father would have signed for you.
Right.
And whether you are or not, because in the court today we find some people who, even in the divorce court, you find some people who thought the children was theirs, and then they take a DNA test and they find out it wasn't theirs.
Man, you made my heart sad.
Well, children, if you raise a children, there's your children. That's my position to my clients, right?
There's a man I know. He's married. The wife has 3, possibly 4 set of children. None for him.
Yeah, but that after that, if he is happy and content being the father, fatherhood is more than biological. And in fact, it's a matter for you to contest it. But if it comes to an estate, and let's say this Mr. Campbell was a rich man and he had children like he has other children, by all accounts, this would not be sufficient for there to be a presumption of paternity. You would have to find some act by the man. And this is very important because, as I say, in February, if that matter goes in favor of the clients there, then all you need to do, if you're born in the Bahamas,
yes,
is to find a Bahamian who you say is your father. And if this is sufficient, you don't even have to produce a card from the hospital to say a baby boy or girl was born to somebody at that time. You don't have to produce any baptismal records. And baptismal records used to be looked at as certain because the priest would get proof of the birth of the child in the parish.
But there are two churches involved in this matter. My church and the Anglican Church.
Well, you have a baptismal record from either?
Well, not as it relates to that.
Because, you know, back in the day,
Yes.
and you will find the birth and death records, we were very serious about whether you were christened or not.
Yes.
If you were not christened, when your death record came in the church register, it would say unchristened, unbaptized. So I've seen a death record in an estate I'm doing with regard to my grandfather, where on the same page of the record of St. Agnes Church, where my father's mother was buried from, the first entry is an unbaptized person.
Wow.
So you had very good record keeping. This concept that we don't have record keeping in the old days is nonsense. I could go to the colonial trading company records, and they have a record of every slave that was sold, their description by male, female, age, which part of Africa sometime, what they were good for, and how much they were sold with. The English,
But you see, if I had to go to open up the works of the church, it would not be kind.
no, but you would find that
Because their works was not done in the church.
no, but that's why, in, for instance, quieting matters, church records have some degree of credibility.
Yes.
Because the priests required certain things.
Yes.
Before they buried you, which would determine where they buried you, whether you were buried in hallowed ground or not, before they christened you, baptized you, all of that.
Why is the government seeming to ignore this, notwithstanding that this is such a serious matter? Because it might force me. See, I have the answer. It isn't that I'm fishing. All right? I had some of the answer for 30 years. All right? Why are they forcing me to impugn the integrity of these powerful institutions? Because I have the answer.
I don't know that unless you are saying that he can produce a baptismal record from a church.
He cannot.
The church doesn't get into that. What would be interesting is
The church don't get into what, council?
into what your citizenship is generally now. Like myself, I was christened on Ragged Island, the Church of the Holy Innocents. And then I was confirmed when I was a very old person.
I see, this is not that.
So you're not talking about the church's records about
I'm
baptism
talking
and
about how the
confirmation.
church influenced the government record.
Oh, well, that would be something that would be a matter of a priest can go and tell a civil servant anything. But certainly back in those days,
Yeah.
you would have to produce some record.
Okay.
The English record keeping was something they prided
Oh,
themselves on, you know.
Yes, but the corruption entered in the latter days of the English as the Negroes took it over.
No, you know, I can tell you, I've done quite a bit of quietings, and you can tell the records that do not line up. And so you might have an affidavit like that, but the court pays it no mind.
It's not an affidavit, counsel.
No, you would have, however you pronounce it.
It is not even an affidavit.
No, it purports to be an affidavit. It's an affidavit insofar as it swears to some things.
But I'm not referring to that, counsel. I'm hiding.
Well,
See?
don't show all your things.
Yeah.
Till you're ready
Yeah.
now. But
This isn't where they did affidavit or affidavits.
I think I got to talk to you about that off air. Yeah.
You see my point?
Yes.
Your argument is correct. But they have gone beyond that.
But we don't have to get down to that. Either there's something in the hospital records,
Yes.
or if you weren't born in the hospital, the midwife would have made a report, or at the time that he was said to have been born in 67, everyone at that point would have known that we were headed for internal self-government
Yes.
and then independence, and all persons within that class were rushing to actually get records. When Bahamian people don't, there used to be this complaint about your people always taking up the hospital to have children, and it's not that they had to have them in the hospital, because for quite a while people might have them under just the supervision of a midwife. But every good person knew that you had to have some record of a birth in the Bahamas.
Right. Yes. Yes. In Australia, we just saw on Friday, it is as if the Australians were trying to help me, where they made a judgment. Have you had an opportunity to compare their particular circumstances with what is taking place here with the minister?
When you first came to me and instructed me, I looked at the provisions of the Australian Constitution, because those cases were afoot. I looked at the Jamaican Constitution because those cases were determined in the previous election. The difference between what you are saying is this. In Australia and Jamaica, they said the person was disqualified because of dual citizenship, which is to say they were qualified because they were Jamaican in the first instance or Australian in the first instance. So they had a qualification to run. But they had something that disqualified them, which if they shed it, they could then legitimately run without anything more. All they had to do is get rid of something.
Right.
And so that is why the judgment would have been a by-election.
Right.
Because you were qualified. You just happened to be disqualified by the extra thing. Taking that your instructions are correct, in this instance, Mr. Campbell wouldn't have been qualified in the first place. And so there's a case, McFoy, and I think it's the United in Africa company that says that's a nullity. So it's
Counsel,
not... So
they are big words.
Well,
Take into consideration, I'm a layman, though learned. Please educate me.
To put it simply in the 2 minutes or so to the break.
Yes.
In Australia and Jamaica, the people were qualified to run because they were in fact Jamaican and they were in fact Australians. So they had what was needed to run. They had something extra. It's like extra baggage that caused them to miss the train. And so once they disposed of the extra baggage, they were qualified. So they were still on the train. If you don't have citizenship to start with, you don't get on the train in the first place.
Right. And that is my allegation
and
against...
so once it's declared that you are not on the train, it's not a matter of a by-election. It's a matter of let's look at who was qualified.
Wow.
And the person who has the most votes of those persons is the winner.
Really? Ken Dossett, my God, look how I can give you a whole seat.
That's if he don't resign before the decision, that is.
Look how I can give you a whole seat.
Well, Frankie would give him the seat.
Well, I exposed Frankie. I got all the documents here. See? And there's more coming.
See?
I'm
aware of the other pieces you're to get.
Yeah. More. Look, Brother Monroe, I can take a quick break because the public needs to know how important this matter is. Because there is a businessman who under the F&M has made millions of dollars, and Dr. Minnis and I, we are both aware that he's not a citizen. I'm not going to challenge him because he is not seeking office. And I have to be careful in what I say so that I wouldn't be accused of breaking the law. But it is my prayer that he would share the money with the poor, because he know he ain't no Bahamian. But he's fortunate he has a prime minister who pussyfoot it and will not come forward. This is Freedom March. I'll be right back.
Freedom March with Rodney Monker will be right back after this. is Freedom March with Rodney Monker.
Welcome back to Freedom March, broadcasting live on ILTV Studios here in Nassau, Bahamas. As we prepare to go to court, my special guest is noted Queen's Counsel Wayne Monroe QC. Mr. Monroe, welcome back to Freedom March. You would have seen Nikki Kelly's article in The Punch today, have you?
Well, after you drew my attention to it,
What is she saying? What seems essentially? You don't have to go into all of it.
Essentially, she's saying he has managed to get by as a Bahamian for 29 years, so it'll be difficult to challenge it now. When you read the decision from Australia, there had been some of those parliamentarians who had served 3 consecutive terms.
Wow.
And the fact that they had served 3 terms didn't stop the Australian High Court saying, well, that doesn't matter. What is the fact? Unless he is trafficking on something other than this affidavit, and there isn't an indication that there is anything else from what we can find,
right?
It's not a matter of presumption. This is the fact. Is this sufficient? That's the question.
Okay. So, this is the fact. This is what he lodged for record. Some say on the 21st, but it was really the 2nd of May, 2012. This is what was sworn on the 8th of July, 1983. And you say the legal question is this sufficient to establish citizenship? That will be...
That's the crux of the matter.
Okay.
Is that sufficient? If it is, then it's sufficient for anybody.
And Nikki says that even if we were successful, this will only be applicable to those born before independence, of which there are thousands.
No. The law about showing a citizenship, it transitioned, but fundamentally you would have had to have been born here by his description.
Right.
Because his mother, from the description, was not a British subject. And his father, if they were not married, he had no father for the reckoning of the British
And his father is not a
Nationality
citizen of the Bahamas.
Well, they're not married for the purposes of the British Nationality Act at this time. He had no father.
Right.
Period. So that was the end of that.
Okay. I hear we got somebody on the call, on the phone, Mr. Monroe. Welcome to Freedom March.
A very pleasant afternoon, Senator and Mr. Monroe.
Afternoon, sir.
Yeah. A question I would like to ask, and I'd called in last week to the Senator. Being in the Bahamas, and during my days in the 50s, when you go to school, you go to prep school, you have to carry your birth certificate, or I guess that's the most you do. And then from the prep school, you go to junior school, then you go to Eastern. At the time, I used to go to prep school, Eastern Junior, Eastern Senior. But I heard last week a gentleman called, said that Mr. Campbell, they were at the R.M. Bailey School together in the 1980, but he got an affidavit in 1983. How was he able to get on the police force without having an affidavit? How was he able to go into these schools without any papers? That's a question like they ask. And I guess when they called the Senator last week, he couldn't give me no request on it, but it's something I'd like to ask because it's a topic you're talking about today. And the other one I would like to know is, when Anna Nicole had a problem when she was in the doctor's hospital, she born a baby girl, and here they had a problem there, so they had to do a DNA. And Burke got the baby in his name rather than photographer. Why is it that the DNA cannot be taking place in our courts as who is the father and the mother? I mean, the father of the child.
Okay.
With the mother. I like that. First of all, I'd like to get an answer on the first one I mentioned. How was you able to get in a preschool, junior school, and senior school, and then you get your affidavit in 1983? How, and then get on the police force also without a paper? So that's something I would like to. I want to sit and relax and let me see your request as a lawyer and a QC. Tell me how that happened, and is it still happening?
Hang up, and he's going to answer you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Brother Monka, that is where, in my view, the action is going to have to be a writ action where you have discovery and the ability to demand what is called answers to interrogatories.
Okay.
Because some people may call it slackness. You have persons who went to Bahamian schools who we are told now aren't citizens. I met a number of them when I was campaigning in Freetown.
Right.
Whether they ought to have been admitted to the school or not is a different matter. From time to time, you have different positions.
Right.
When I was coming up in schools, there used to be a position that once you are under 16, you have to be educated. My learned friend, Fred Smith, QC, that's his position. That the Education Act just says once you are under 16, you must be in education.
Right.
It doesn't talk about your nationality. How that occurred is there. Now, insofar as this is an affidavit that would have been done,
1983.
which would have been when
He would have been 16.
given the date, it may well be that this is what was presented to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, or you go to the passport office, you present it, you get a passport based on this,
Yes.
and then you go from there. So long as you could get your foot into the door by getting a document, that ought to, in your mind, be sufficient, and then it just carries on and on. Think about it now. The voter's card. Last election, they say the fact that you had a previous voter's card didn't entitle you to one now.
Right.
Which is a nice way of saying we know that some people who have voter's cards aren't Bahamians.
Right.
Which is a shocking thing
And
to
the same
say.
thing for passports.
So that's the fact. Anna Nicole Smith, I was representing her and what's his name?
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern, the lawyer. And there was a dispute about paternity. And that is why a DNA test was ordered. But only one person, the Burkhead, submitted to it. Stern didn't. Because the court can't make you take a test. All it can do is order it. If you don't take it, then they could draw inferences. But again, like I say, part of the question, the referendum question, had to do with establishing paternity by DNA test. That wasn't voted on. And so if you have a situation like this, in my own judgment,
Like Frankie Mata.
like this affidavit, in my own judgment,
Yes.
if this were to come before me, I would say, I can accept that this is this woman's child. I can't accept where the child is born, and I can't accept who the father is because there's no proof from the place of birth, and the father himself isn't shown to have ever acknowledged the child.
But the affidavit in Venice do say by the mother that he was born in New Providence.
But that's not, unless you're just going to take people's word, unless you're going to just unless the standard will be, if the woman says she had the child in the Bahamas, she had the child in the Bahamas. And then that would have to be the standard.
Wow.
And then if you say, when the woman say that's the daddy, you have to accept that that's the daddy, then that would be the standard.
This is powerful.
And so if that's the standard that you're imposing, fine. Once you understand what comes with that, you'll have plenty breakdown, because when rich people die, I'll turn up to be, I'll turn up to be Frankie Wilson's son too.
Wow.
When Sir Franklin died.
Well, if Sir Franklin owns a church, I'll show up because I always wanted a church. Welcome to Freedom March. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I would like to know why there's so much hoopla over Frankie Campbell. When you had a UBP minister who was born in Montreal, Canada, he served with distinction, and you had a candidate from Bermuda who ran twice. And,
Well,
there's nothing made about that.
The difference is this. That was when we were a colony and we had no internal self-government. Internal self-government and independence is what made the difference. The Bahamas was a colony of Great Britain, and we were the colonies of the Bahama Islands. Then we became the Commonwealth of the Bahama
If you'd like to make a
Right.
And so the fact that you had the UBP was never in power for internal self-government. the PLP brought internal self-government into force. And so you could have somebody from Bermuda, because that's also a colony.
Yes, and we were also citizen of the United Kingdom and colonies.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. But what the Australian case demonstrates is this. In Australia, you had people who had served in the Australian Parliament. And the court said that does not matter. Now, the thing that has been troubling me, Brother Monica, to be frank with you, is this. I know that ministers take decisions. Fortunately, it's the permanent secretary who binds the government and not the minister. Because if the minister himself had to take a decision, if there was something he exercised his discretion on, the question would be if he's disqualified from being a member of Parliament and he's not been appointed to the Senate, then that would mean that he isn't qualified to be a minister. And if it is a decision that requires his character as a minister to make valid, the question of the validity of his actions would come into play. But fortunately for us, in most matters...
But there is one that I think he signed.
Well, regardless of what contract the minister signs, most contracts are not valid unless the permanent secretary signs. Don't mind all these signing secretaries.
I mean contract.
There are some decisions that are up to the discretion of the minister. Those decisions
by regulation, he signed.
That may be an issue. If it is one that he...
There is one, because today I went to road traffic to check on something, because my little taxi soon reached. My little van.
Oh, the franchise.
And so I went and I questioned them. I said, what's this? They say, oh, the minister doesn't take care of that. I say, you sure? They say yes.
No, but you still have to exercise care. It would really have to be something where the minister exercises discretion as opposed to the controller.
I can tell you off air because they're listening to me.
Yeah.
They have assigned almost 100 F&M.
Can't be that much.
Yeah, man. They ain't got nothing else to do, you know. They can't find job. Watch Monica. They can't fight crime. Watch me. And I'm happy. But I'll tell you off air. And they told me, I say, you sure Glenys Hanna didn't do it?
Now, I'm quite sure there are some matters in which
I can
the
tell you
minister exercises
I don't want them to know.
I would hope it's not too many matters, because leaving it open for as long as it has, I'll have to look and see now. That just occurred to me. I'll have to look and see.
I'll tell you off air.
No, but I'll have to look and see if there's any way to save any exercise of discretion if he is found not to have been qualified to be an MP, therefore not qualified to be a minister.
Well, that is why I told the permanent secretary. Permanent secretary, this is the last time I can tell you. Don't carry out any act. You hear me? Once the minister say you must do something, you consult with the PM. Say, PM, why don't you act as the Minister of Transport and you sign?
No, but a lot of, how government works is transport takes some things to cabinet, and a lot of things are activated or actuated by cabinet conclusions.
Yes.
So that's the decision of the cabinet of the Bahamas.
Yes.
Who is the decision making? We have something to do where we may end up prosecuting the entire cabinet for breaking the employment law, because the cabinet makes decision and then it goes down and it's acted on by the department.
Well, I'm interested in hearing that because...
But there are some decisions that the legislation says the minister takes. The minister.
I can show it to you.
I know there are some. I hope
there's a Pacific one because you're going to have to go to court with that one.
No.
But I won't catch them off guard.
No, you straight.
Yeah.
That might be a little blackmail. Leave him alone, because if you invalidate him, you invalidate this thing that you have.
Okay.
That may be the plan, you see.
Okay, then this is powerful. You said somebody else was on the phone? Okay. Mr. Monroe, I'm getting constant complaint. People are complaining they're not getting paid. They're getting fired. There must be a way for me to stop my party from firing these people.
Well,
it's mass firing.
Well, first thing, I hear all the time when I hear your show, and I was in Mass this Sunday, and the rector of my church, when he did his sermon, cited Leviticus 19:13 that tell you don't keep a workman's wage overnight.
Wow. All the FNM is doing is keeping your wage.
Overnight.
Overnight.
And so and that's the thing to say, don't rob and defraud your brother. Don't keep his wage overnight. So
Let me
if
write
you're supposed to pay him on Thursday, pay him on Thursday, not Friday.
Leviticus what?
I think it's 19:13.
Okay. Oh, if only my spiritual advisor was here. Leviticus 19:13.
13. And it's a bunch of scriptures that deal with paying people promptly and not working people without paying them. And the fact that it's referred to so often should tell you
Yes.
that it's important. But on firing people, it occurred to me, you will remember in the last session of Parliament before the election, the PLP moved the Employment Act Amendment of 2017,
I voted for it in the Senate.
where they call it the Sandals Bill, I think they
Yes.
call it, which basically says that you can't terminate more than 20 people by reason of redundancy without going through a process. And if you did, you committed a criminal offense. Well, I've been listening, and I hear that the government in some instances are terminating people at just under the 20, 18 here, 18 there, 18 somewhere else. And it occurred to me that once you add everyone up, and it's more than 20, that offends that act.
Well, but suppose in national insurance, they only fire 20. 18. The law would not be applicable at that case. Agreed?
Now, the difference is this, you have to...
But if they fire 20 or 19 in another government agency.
No, you have to be careful. You have government corporations that are corporation sole.
Okay.
So if you have NIB fire, make 18 people redundant in Nassau, 18 in Grand Bahama, National Insurance has offended
The law.
because you added up and that's 36.
Wow.
The persons who should be prosecuted should be I think they have an executive at National Insurance and all of the directors. For the government...
National... Who I'm going to take the call in a second.
There's an executive chairman at National
So we
Insurance
prosecute him.
and all of the directors.
What about the minister?
If it's the government departments, then the person who is the directors of government departments arguably is the cabinet.
You mean to tell me Brensel is going to go scot-free? And to see him who telling them to fire these people?
Well, then they're foolish to do it.
You all hear what Brother Monroe say? If Brensel Roll tell you all to fire anybody, don't listen, because it's y'all who are going to be prosecuted. Let me take these little calls, and then we get back to it. Hello, welcome to Freedom March.
Good afternoon, Mr. Monker.
Good afternoon, my dear.
And good afternoon to your guests.
Afternoon, ma'am.
You know why I believe the spiritual advisor is not there? Because you have on Wayne Monroe.
No. Yeah, because he got important work to do. I know him. He's my boy.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that is
You all
true.
have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Freedom March. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Monker.
Hello, my dear.
Good afternoon, Mr. Monroe.
Afternoon.
Mr. Monroe, I want to ask you a question. Okay, it's related to a job. Okay, I was working for a government ministry like 17 years and 8 months. And I was placed in the wrong scale coming from another government ministry with a corporation. I was placed in the wrong scale. Like my salary was cut like $2,600 annually. And they brought me in at the lowest scale and 17 years and 8 months after still remaining at that scale. And I wrote all kind of letters. This happened under the PLP government. Now it's going through the FNM and nobody seems to understand. I retired now like about a month ago. And I need my salary to be placed in the right perspective because I need my money. I can't work at the top scale and then have to start from the bottom scale, like working all over again. I spent 18 years in the corporation.
My God.
And they start me in a low scale at this government ministry, and I had to work all over again.
How long were you at the ministry?
17 years and 8 months.
Part of the problem is when the government does something wrong to you, you have to act fairly quickly. Unless it's a continuing harm. You see, the government could sue us for some things for 6 years, but the government who makes the laws says generally you have 1 year to sue them.
Okay, Mr. Monroe. In my case, I've spoken to a lawyer, a senior lawyer like you, and they said that they were taking money out of my salary. They said as long as that was an action up to now that I retire, they still saying I owe government money. Say I can still deal with it through the court because this was something pending I've been writing on year after year after year. In that process, in 2014, 2 permanent secretaries from 2 different ministries, my ministry and another ministry, decided to lie on me and transfer me to another ministry without the public service even knowing. I went to them. They said it was wrong, and they still ain't correct it.
Well, the problem is, ma'am...
And they transferred me with a lie.
The problem is you have to seek your remedy, and you have to seek it timely. I would have to see the facts off air, but one of the main things is you have to act now. So like in this thing I'm dealing with Brother Monke, he has within a short period of time to have his
case filed?
Well, not a strict amount of time, because constitutionally you don't have a strict time limit.
Okay.
But there's a discretion, but you have a short period of time to have your exhibition before you need to move. So you would have to contact us off air, and if we had the actual facts, we could tell you what we could do to assist you.
Contact you or Mr. Monka?
But if you contact Brother Monke, it's like contacting me.
Okay.
So you know my number is 434-5760, and make sure you have your $20 to buy your little crack conch and fry fish.
Okay. I'll bring the document also. They're legit.
All righty.
This is powerful. Take good care, my love.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome to Freedom Match. Hello. Please answer me. Hello. Welcome to Freedom Match.
Good day, Mr. Monka, and good day to your guests.
Yes.
You've outdone yourself today. Mr. Monroe, why us Bahamians, we are so, things happen to us because we don't try and avail ourselves to these information. Plenty of us don't understand and don't know what is actually in the Employment Act. Because we have people, sometimes they are fired, they are treated unfairly on the job, and we simply don't know our rights. And that is so unfortunate. And I think, I don't know, maybe if you have some time, maybe in the new year, you could perhaps, probably have a public educational discussion or what have you, because many of us Bahamians, we are taken advantage of every day in the workplace, not just in the private sector, in the government, and we simply just don't know what to do.
Well, I'll tell you how it runs. This is an assignment I'm giving Brother Monka, just like he did all of this work on this Frankie Campbell matter and then brought it to me. I'm tired listening to his show and hearing talks about people getting fired, and it occurred to me that something is wrong. So I'm going to give him an assignment to try and get as much information as possible so that we can see, has the law been broken by the government? If the government has broken the law, then we need to call them to account.
Not just the government also, because we have plenty of people even in the private sectors. I mean, the government has been the main culprit in the last few months. The government they've been letting go left, right, and center. They're the main culprit. But we have people who are hurting in both sectors, and we have nowhere to run.
There are other people. I'll tell you this before the break, and it'll take my brother Monka by surprise. Some employer in the Bahamas probably did not know that my daughter was who my daughter was, and did her dirty.
Wow.
And if she did not have access to legal services, it may have gone like that. And the challenge is for persons who find themselves in that position to get a remedy. Well, you talk to who you know. If you know me from Freetown, if you know me from the church, or if you know Brother Monke like you know me, or any other lawyer who can help you, then you send your cry, and we'll hear your cry.
Do you understand what he's saying?
Right, I'm following you, Mr. Monroe.
Well, hold on, because I'm going to take a break. You don't hang up.
Okay.
This is Freedom Match. Rachel is on the phone. She weeps. for her children them, and she cannot be comforted. I hope Wayne Monroe can comfort her. Just hold on. We'll be right back after the break.
Do you have something to say to the Senator? Call Freedom March at 323-7775. Toll free from anywhere in the Bahamas at 242-300-0045. Freedom March with Rodney Monker, only on ILTV.
What I understand from these new set of fellas they intend to do with immigration and work permit is you put in the work permit. If they don't tell you no within 14 days, you come in, and if they don't tell you no within 14 days, you get your work permit. Well, that invites skullduggery, as Brother Monco would say, because all I have to do is get someone to hide my file for 2 weeks.
Right.
So you can't find it for 2 weeks, and I'll have a work permit.
Wow.
And I could be here working in the meantime. The grant of permission to work is one of the exceptions under our Constitution that you could discriminate based on place of origin. And so that's to say this is an area that you could say, look, we have sufficient Bahamian pharmacists. We ain't giving you no permission to come here and work as a pharmacist. We don't have sufficient Bahamian teachers, so we give you permission to come and teach. We don't have sufficient nurses. But any area that we have sufficient Bahamians, we're not going to permit you to come here and work because the Bahamas is for Bahamians first. And we may permit some guests if we need your services.
Apparently, there's a lot of apparently there are a lot of Filipino pharmacists here right now. Some are employed with the government. Some was just interviewed today by the government.
Well, you know, I know of a lot of people studying pharmacy here and abroad.
Do you know Lynn Holovesco?
I don't know her personally.
I'm going to make a suggestion.
Don't do that.
You should complain to Lynn Holovesco.
Mr. Monka, I don't think that'll do anything because you told us last week to make the complaint to Mr. Pratt, and that was a dead road we went down.
You did complain to him?
That was a dead road.
I shall ask him about it when he's
feel like we get the door shut in our face.
I'll ask him because, you know, he's a saved man, and I know where he preached.
Yeah, you see if you could deal with that, but off air, I'll tell you who's behind it.
Okay. I got to let you go because I got a couple of more Negro people waiting to
sir.
talk. Too well, my sister. Hello, welcome to Freedom March.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is a little bit off the topic.
Go ahead.
I want to ask Mr. Monroe, that situation what Fred Smith is talking about, is it right that investors could come in and buy out a whole company and force people to sell their shares, like regular people to sell their shares out of it? How that work?
What company are you
Apparently,
referring to?
Fred was talking
That's
about
power company in Freeport.
A company in Freeport, perhaps Power and Light, whatever that name. And apparently some foreign investors
Fred Smith has shares in it,
in
and seems like
collusion
this company wants to
with
buy
the
it
F&M.
out fully and force him out of his
The foreign
shares
company
that
won
he
the
has.
whole thing, and some provision is made where, backed by the F&M, they can force a citizen to sell their shares.
Well, that could only be the case if that provision was in place when you bought your shares.
You heard what he said, comrade?
Say that again?
If it could only be that provision was in place when you acquired the shares. So, for instance, there are private companies where there are rules that say if you want to sell your shares, you have to offer it to existing members, and certain other shareholder agreements that speak to that. I don't know exactly what Fred Smith is speaking about.
He don't want to sell.
Well, the question will be, when he acquired the shares, was this term in place? If the answer is yes, then the person would say, when you bought the shares, you knew that you might be compelled to sell them, and so you can't complain. If the provision was not in place when he bought his shares, then, you know, I think Fred know how to find the court.
Yeah, but I mean, I bring up that because I know he should know, but I mean in future, if people like us don't know, and
Well,
we get into something like
well,
that.
you see, what happens is this. When you see these prospectus come out for issuing shares for Cable Bahamas, for Abaco Market, don't listen to what people tell you. Get the perspectives and read it.
All right.
And keep it, just in case you have to row about the terms that you got your shares later.
Yeah.
Get the perspective, read it, and then keep it.
You
Yeah, but I
understand
know
it?
he's a smart guy, so he should know he should know what he's talking about. But, you know, like you say, we don't know what happened when he bought it at first.
Yes.
You know?
Anyway,
All right, thanks.
take good care, comrade. Hello, welcome to Freedom March.
Hi, Mr. Monroe, Mr. Moncur.
God save the Queen.
Hi, good day. Mr. Monroe, can you please give me some info as it relates to what the Employment Act states as it relates to persons working 7 consecutive days?
No,
Because some people, I have a situation where I have a girlfriend, she's with one of the quasi-governments, and she works 7 consecutive days at times, and she doesn't know when time and a half or double time kicks in. Can you explain that to me, please? Thanks.
No. Persons aren't supposed to work 7 days. The only persons arguably who can work 7 days, made to work 7 days, are police officers and defense force officers. And even the police under the commissioner's standing order will get overtime. I did that case for them under the PLP. Defense force officers just get the time back. But once you exceed the maximum hours to work in a week, you're entitled to overtime. And then the question is, if you have a set day of work and you're made, set rest day and you're made to work on that, or if you're made to work on a public holiday.
What do you mean by rest day?
You're supposed to have a fixed day, 24 hours of rest, continuous.
You're not being religious.
No, it's in the Employment Act.
So you're saying that if I work 5 days, I'm entitled to how many days off?
To 24 hours consecutively.
Really?
Yeah. Because there are ways that you can manipulate when somebody comes to work and leaves work so that somebody could work 40 hours in a week without having 24 consecutive hours.
Well, they're doing it at the
off.
hospital. There is an auxiliary nurse. And that's what they're doing.
Well, then that she would be entitled once she exceeds the 40. Well, what you're saying is they're making her work 40 hours, but they're spreading it out over 7 days.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't have a clear day off. Well, that's a crime.
It's a crime?
Oh, yeah.
Explain that, counsel.
Under the Employment Act, to breach any term of the Employment Act, some terms have specific punishments, but to breach any term of the Employment Act is a crime by a catch-all clause.
Can I report them to CID?
You could report them to CID, or the person can commence a private prosecution.
Really?
Yes.
So you can go to the police?
You can go to the magistrate, swear out a private prosecution, and prosecute the person.
What if I want the police to do it?
Well, they might not do it. Now, the sad thing is, for the catch-all provision, the only penalty is a fine.
A fine.
Which goes to the public treasury.
Okay.
But if it's the government who is breaking the law,
yes,
then they pay themselves $5,000. That's part of the teeth that the law does not have.
Okay. But nothing the victim gets? The victim of this criminal offense?
I would think that I could fathom something that's a remedy, because there must be a remedy.
There has to be a remedy.
Yes.
If you committed a criminal act against me.
But you know, my brother, on the break, I committed to your Freedom March legal education.
Yes, tell
we
the
shall
people
do that.
them what you're prepared to do to educate them. Because they just told me, Shabazz had a whole secret downstairs and I didn't know.
No, I know that. What I think...
Let me tell you about the secret. They told me how there's one big room, big studio. You could have guests sit down. I'm just saying, think about it.
Now,
they can always ask the bats.
If it's a program that they wish to develop for public education, then fine. I don't know what their content needs are here. But certainly that's an idea that if you want a public information show, that you can certainly locate persons who can put on a show where people come ask questions about different areas.
Right.
And the public hears without maybe full details.
Right.
Areas. And that would probably be useful. And I'm quite sure, because I'm on Bar Council, that is something that the Bahamas Bar Council would support.
This is powerful. Well, we must talk about this, right?
Yeah.
We can either come here, I could ask the Bats about the underground studio that can hold people, or we can go to a public location. You know, we go anywhere, but the people them need to be educated.
Yeah, that's what the two callers ago is crying for, that persons are taken advantage of for simply not knowing better.
Now, how can I get you to prosecute the government who is firing all these people?
Well, Brother Monkey, you know, once you get the information and it is righting or wrong, you can get me generally to move.
Listen here. If y'all are a part of being fired by the Bahamas government, right? Y'all find me. 434-5760. But I need as many. Got to be more than 20 persons. 20 or more. Right? It's any part of the government service then.
It has to be government service proper, like the National Insurance Board is a separate entity.
Okay. Tell me what ministry, so the people that
I take the view that it's across the government as a whole. So Atlantis can't say, we fire some people from housekeeping, we fire some people from landscaping, we fire some people from the kitchen, but in every area it's less than 20, so you don't add them together. Well, the government is just that.
The government.
The government has many areas, and before you make somebody redundant, because before you fire them to say you don't need them, you have to determine
put the camera on
whether or not
Monroe.
there's something else that they can do. So, for instance, if you're firing them from, I don't know, roads and parks, we found out from your guest in Freeport that the Ministry of Education in Freeport needs people.
Right.
And so that's the whole concept. So once you have 20 people across the government at large, that's the thing. But you need to get as many people as you think.
Hello, welcome to Freedom March. All who have been fired by the Bahamas government, call me. Need 20 or more so we could prosecute their backside like how Sir Cecil would have done it. Hello, welcome to Freedom March.
Mr. Monroe.
Yes, sir.
No, I want to call the talk show, Mr. Monroe, just to congratulate Mr. Anthony Ferguson for becoming the next Commissioner of Police today on Freedom March show.
This is powerful.
And, Mr. Monroe, how long do you think a probate matter should be resolved in?
It depends on whether it's contested or not. And let me add my congratulations to Commissioner Ferguson. He's an Exuma man, a good man.
Yeah.
I've known him from the time
He's from Forest.
Yeah, from I was called to the bar.
Yeah.
And he's a good man. It's unfortunate the circumstances that he's taking the chair, but that has nothing to do with him.
No.
But a probate matter depends on whether it's contested, not contested, how quickly it is you can get your information.
Yeah, so Mr. Monroe, I can call you privately on this matter, right?
Yes, certainly. Certainly.
And Mr. Monroe, you stay strong and ease up on Frankie a little, man.
Listen, this is beyond Frankie now.
It's beyond Frankie now.
This is beyond Frankie.
All
right? It's beyond Frankie.
This has to do with what standard we impose for people to prove that they're citizens.
Yeah, it's beyond Frankie now.
What applies to him applies to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Frankie would be the gold seller then.
Well, or the red seller.
Yeah, or the red seller.
Anyway.
Anyhow, Mr. Munker and Mr. Monroe, you all stay strong, please.
Pray for us.
Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to Freedom March. Okay. So, Monroe, those people who have been fired, your argument is that the law makes provision that if someone fire more than 20 people, it's a criminal offense.
Now, there's a process that you have to adopt.
Okay.
And nothing tells, from what I can see, the process wasn't adopted. It will be important to know whether the person was on, if you were, say, on a 2-3 year contract
Right.
that came to an end, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you were on one of these 1-year contracts that kept rolling over,
Right.
my friend O.B. Ferguson did a case that the court said that's an indefinite contract.
Wow.
Yeah, because people used to think they were smart and try and stop workers getting vested rights for severance and notice
Right.
by saying, okay, you employed for 1 year at a time, the schools.
Say
and
that in
things like
layman
that.
time, because that sounds so complex for me.
What people,
Say it in layman time so the people then would know.
so you could have some employment right. Everyone knows about the time. They say how long I would work in somewhere. Well,
Right.
what some companies did was to say, you know what, I will give you 1 year contract from there to there. Then they give you a sequence of 10 1-year contracts.
Right.
And in the last one, if they fired you in the last one, they'll say, oh, but this is a 1-year fixed term contract.
Right.
Well, the court heard a case and said, that's nonsense. This person has been employed for 10 years continuously. This is an indefinite contract.
That happened in the Bahamas?
Yes.
May God bless the Supreme Court.
Well, I know it happened at the level of the Industrial Tribunal appeal to the Court of Appeal. O.B. Ferguson, who is my good friend, does a lot of this labor advocacy.
Right.
And so when you see something, if you think, and you'll like this, if you see something and you think, that can't be right,
Yeah.
that must be wrong,
Yes.
it probably is.
Yes.
It's just a matter of finding someone who could find a law that tells you that this person shouldn't be able to do that to
Give me
you.
that concept again. Say that one more time. If you find something wrong.
If something happens
Yes.
to you that you think must be wrong, can't be right, it probably is not legally permitted. It is simply a matter of finding the law that the person is transgressing.
Let's take this Andres call.
Yes.
Hello, Andres. How are you? Andres? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Brother Monca.
Sir?
I wonder if you and Brother Monroe would be gracious enough to congratulate Picewell Soka Forbes as the new leader of government opposition business in the House of Parliament.
When did that happen?
It is on your thing if you're reading.
Okay. Well, Monroe, you want to go first with Brother Percival Forbes?
Well, I would certainly congratulate Picewell on his new appointment.
This is powerful. Percival, I congratulate you. And in the words of the late Clarence A. Bain, I say, oh, Andres, my Andres, I love you like no other knows. Oh, Andres, my Andres. Percival, that one for you. Thank you, Andres. Anybody else? Good. Monroe, there's 3 more minutes.
Well, you know, Brother Monca, you have now a task that you come on here, you're fighting for people, and clearly from what I hear and from some of the calls, people are concerned to know their rights.
Yes.
And as I say, it's something that I'm quite sure the Bahamas Bar Council would support you in, and the challenge is for you to make Freedom March really about freedom, which is letting people know what their rights are.
Yes.
And then, even if you don't know what your rights are, like I say, if you think it's wrong, then it's probably wrong.
Wow.
And call someone and find out.
Right. That's a powerful principle.
Yeah, oh yeah. I heard that from Sir Telford Georges.
Oh, he was a great jurist.
Yes, who said if something is wrong, he proceeds on the basis if something seems like it's not right, it oughtn't to happen, it's probably unlawful.
Wow.
And it's his challenge as a judge to find a law that says that you can't do that.
This is powerful.
And a lot of what is happening to people today, really, when you think about it, is wrong.
Now you getting my
case? It can't be right.
You getting my case ready?
Yeah, you ready? I
have my exhibition.
Listen, man, I have your case on citizenship ready. You ain't ever come to check the documents on the Disclosure Act thing.
That is true.
You never come to check the documents where the fat fella talk bad about you, where the 2 fat fellas talk bad about you.
And
I think you cracked the code, you know, because you don't need this money. You sure you ain't cracked the code and surpass them, hide it?
They ain't tell me. But I received intelligence that Warren McCartney fire another Scot. Warren, stop it. I'm a saved man. I don't want to curse you out until I meet you in court.
Well, why not go get the first set of money from him and the Guardian, and then they'll probably stop him talking foolishness.
I need to fix my roof.
See,
and I have great news to announce. The government rat poison has arrived. The poison is here, and I'm going to see them because I need them to come in the part of Bainstown where I am and just spread lots of rat poison, because these rats, they're some of the fattest rats I've ever seen. And their fur is fluffy. But thank God, finally, rat poison has arrived. Man, it's plenty rat.
Too much sex.
And I don't believe in spading animals. But it's a lot of rats. Ben Monroe, quickly hold the flag and let's wave it. And I thank you for answering the call to come on Freedom March without notice.
Anytime.
This is Freedom March. Ben Monroe is my lawyer. Juan McCartney, better leave me alone, eh?
The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Rodney Monker, his guests, callers, and advisors on Freedom March are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Freedom March is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2017. All rights are reserved.